Tonight, we dive into an urgent and eye-opening story, one that goes far beyond ships and steel, beyond tonnage and radar arrays. This is a story about power, about presence, and about what happens when the balance at sea begins to shift. In our region, the oceans are not just bodies of water, they are lifelines. They are highways of trade, reservoirs of food, and buffers of national survival. And today, those waters are under pressure. Japan's most iconic patrol ship, Shikishima, has officially retired after decades of frontline service. A quiet ending for a vessel that once symbolized strength, restraint, and a rules-based maritime order. Meanwhile, just beyond Philippine waters, something very different continues to grow. Massive Chinese vessels, often described as monster ships, are operating aggressively in disputed seas. Some fly the colors of the China Coast Guard. Others disguise themselves as fishing boats. But make no mistake, these ships are not civilian. They are instruments of state power. As one legend leaves the stage, another force tightens its grip. What does this mean for the Philippines? What does it mean for the future of maritime security in the West Pacific? And more importantly, are we prepared? Stay with us as West Pacific Watch unravels these critical developments and their implications for our nation and the wider region. To understand what we are losing, we must first understand what Shikishima represented. Launched in 1991, the Shikishima was not just another patrol ship. At 150 meters long and with a displacement of 7,175 tons, it was, at the time, one of the largest patrol vessels ever built in the world. This was not a warship bristling with missiles. It was something far more symbolic. The Shikishima embodied Japan's post-war maritime philosophy: strength without aggression, power under restraint, and law enforcement over coercion. Designed specifically for the Japan Coast Guard, the ship was built to patrol vast ocean territories, particularly Japan's exclusive economic zone, one of the largest in the world. Equipped with advanced surveillance radars, long-range navigation systems, aviation facilities for helicopters, and endurance for weeks at sea, Shikishima was a floating command center, capable of responding to crises hundreds of nautical miles from home. But its most sensitive role revealed just how trusted and capable the vessel truly was. Shikishima was tasked with escorting nuclear material shipments, missions so critical that failure was not an option. These operations required absolute reliability, discretion, and deterrence without provocation. For over 3 decades, Shikishima sailed quietly but firmly, enforcing laws, deterring intrusions, rescuing vessels in distress, and reminding all who crossed its path that the seas were not lawless. It became a cornerstone of the Japanese Coast Guard fleet, a ship that defined an era. But even legends must eventually step aside. In late 2024, the Japanese government officially retired Shikishima. The reason was simple and unavoidable: age. After more than 30 years of constant operations, the ship had reached the limits of what modernization could reasonably extend. Newer patrol vessels, equipped with modern sensors, improved propulsion, and enhanced digital integration, were ready to take its place. And yet its retirement marked more than a technical transition. It marked the end of a philosophy built on trust in international law, at least in its purest form. As Japan quietly phased out one of its most respected patrol ships, the regional maritime environment was moving in the opposite direction. Because while Shikishima was built to protect the law, another fleet was being built to bend it. While Japan said goodbye to a legend, China continued to deploy something far more ominous. Across the West Philippine Sea and the broader South China Sea, massive Chinese vessels have become an increasingly common and increasingly aggressive presence. They are often called monster ships for a reason. Some exceed 10,000 tons in displacement, larger than many naval destroyers. Others are reinforced with hardened steel bows capable of ramming. Many carry military-grade sensors, communications equipment, and water cannons powerful enough to disable other vessels. And yet they rarely look like warships. Some fly the flag of the China Coast Guard. Others pose as fishing vessels, part of what analysts call China's maritime militia. This ambiguity is deliberate. It is part of a strategy known as gray zone operations, actions that fall below the threshold of open warfare, but still achieve strategic goals through intimidation, persistence, and coercion. These ships block resupply missions. They shadow Philippine patrols. They harass fishermen. They linger, day after day, month after month, until presence becomes control. This is not accidental, this is doctrine. The activities of these Chinese vessels directly contradict international law. In 2016, the Permanent Court of Arbitration in The Hague issued a landmark ruling that invalidated China's sweeping claims over the South China Sea. The ruling was clear. There is no legal basis for China's so-called 9-dash line. Features claimed by China do not generate expansive maritime zones, and the Philippines' sovereign rights within its exclusive economic zone must be respected. China rejected the ruling. Instead, it responded with ships. Today, Chinese monster ships continue to operate in areas well within the Philippines' EEZ, areas where Filipino fishermen have worked for generations. They are not enforcing law, they are enforcing power. The retirement of Shikishima and the rise of China's monster ships highlight a profound contrast in maritime philosophy. On one side, a rules-based approach. Law enforcement vessels. Transparency. Alliances, international cooperation. On the other, coercion. Ambiguity, militarized civilians. Unilateral actions. This contrast could not be more relevant to the Philippines, because our nation sits directly at the crossroads of these competing visions. The Philippines is not a small maritime player. With over 36,000 kilometers of coastline, thousands of islands, and some of the richest fishing grounds in the world, the sea is central to our identity, economy, and security. Yet for decades, maritime defense was neglected. Ships aged, capabilities lagged. Presence thinned. Today, the consequences are visible. Fishermen pushed out of traditional grounds. Resupply missions challenged. Sovereign rights questioned not in words, but in steel hulls. But this story is not one of helplessness. It is a story of awakening. In recent years, the Philippines has begun to move. The acquisition of Jose Rizal-class frigates marked a historic milestone for the Philippine Navy, providing modern sensors, combat systems, and credible deterrence. The Philippine Coast Guard has expanded its fleet with multi-role response vessels, improving patrol coverage, disaster response, and law enforcement capability. These are important steps, but they are not enough. Because the challenge we face is not theoretical. It is physical, it is persistent, and it is growing. This brings us back to Japan, and to Shikishima. Japan has a long history of transferring surplus defense equipment to allies and partners. Patrol vessels, surveillance aircraft, and radar systems have already found their way to Southeast Asia. The question now is simple, but strategic. Could the Philippines benefit from acquiring retired Japanese ships? Such vessels, even in retirement, offer unmatched endurance, command and control capability, and symbolic weight. They are not tools of aggression. They are tools of presence, and presence matters. Acquiring or co-developing large patrol vessels in partnership with Japan would not only enhance Philippine maritime capability, it would deepen a strategic relationship built on shared values and mutual security. Hardware alone is not enough. The Philippine Coast Guard must continue evolving into a force capable of sustained operations in contested waters. This means advanced surveillance systems, persistent maritime domain awareness, secure communications, and real-time intelligence sharing with allies. Training matters. Interoperability matters. Partnerships matter. Collaboration with Japan, the United States, Australia, and other regional partners can provide the Philippines with the skills and support needed to operate confidently in complex maritime environments. This is not the first time Philippine waters have been contested. From Spanish colonization, to American rule, to the Battle of Leyte Gulf during World War II, our seas have always been a stage for great power rivalry. But today's conflict looks different. There are no battleships firing broadsides, no carrier task forces clashing openly. Instead, the struggle unfolds quietly, through fishing fleets, Coast Guard standoffs, and patrol routes. The weapons are not cannons. They are persistence and pressure. Maritime security is not just a military issue. It is a national issue. Every Filipino depends on the sea, whether through food, trade, energy, or identity. Public awareness matters. Unity matters. Support for modernization matters. A nation that understands the value of its waters is a nation that will defend them. The retirement of Japan's Shikishima and the continued operations of Chinese monster ships are not isolated events. They are symbols of a shifting maritime order. One era, defined by restraint and law, is fading. Another, driven by coercion and ambiguity, is rising. The Philippines stands at a crossroads. Will we strengthen our maritime institutions? Will we invest in presence, partnerships, and preparedness? Or will we allow others to shape our future at sea? The answer is still being written. And West Pacific Watch will continue to follow every development, because the story of our waters is the story of our nation. Thank you for joining us.
If you found this analysis valuable, support the channel by liking, subscribing, and turning on notifications for more deep dive coverage.
This is West Pacific Watch, signing off. Mabuhay ang Pilipinas. But to truly understand why this moment matters, we must look deeper, beyond individual ships, beyond isolated incidents, and into the architecture of power at sea. Because maritime dominance is not built overnight. It is constructed patiently, deliberately, and often invisibly. At first glance, a ship's size may seem like a technical detail. Length, displacement, tonnage, but in contested waters, size is a message. Large vessels can stay at sea longer. They can intimidate smaller ships without firing a shot. They can absorb damage, they can ram, they can block, they can loom. This is why China builds its Coast Guard ships so large, larger in many cases than the warships of Southeast Asian navies. A 10,000-ton Coast Guard vessel confronting a 1,000-ton patrol ship does not need weapons to assert dominance. The imbalance speaks for itself. Japan understood this decades ago. That was the logic behind Shikishima, not to threaten, but to ensure that no one could easily challenge its presence. The Philippines is now learning the same lesson, under pressure. Gray zone operations are not designed to win battles. They are designed to exhaust. Every blocked resupply mission, every shadowing maneuver, every water cannon incident, each one sends a message. You do not belong here. Your presence is temporary. Our presence is permanent. Over time, this pressure erodes confidence, not just among sailors and fishermen, but within institutions and governments. This is why maritime security is psychological as much as physical. And this is where sustained presence becomes crucial. A ship that visits once is noticed. A ship that stays becomes normal. A ship that never leaves becomes authority. China understands this. It rotates vessels constantly, ensuring that even when one ship departs, another replaces it immediately. Japan countered this with endurance platforms like Shikishima. The United States counters it with forward-deployed forces. Australia counters it through patrol persistence. For the Philippines, presence remains the greatest challenge. Not because of lack of will, but because of limited hulls. Every day that contested waters go unpatrolled, something is lost. Fish stocks decline, illegal structures expand, foreign presence hardens, and most dangerously, the status quo shifts. What was once an intrusion becomes normal. What was once illegal becomes unchallenged. What was once contested becomes accepted. History shows us this pattern again and again. Territory is rarely taken in one dramatic moment. It is absorbed quietly while the world looks elsewhere. The Philippines is not alone in facing this challenge. Vietnam has invested heavily in large Coast Guard vessels. Indonesia has merged maritime agencies to strengthen enforcement. Japan has doubled down on patrol coverage in the East China Sea. Even small nations, when faced with maritime pressure, adapt or lose ground. The lesson is clear. Maritime security is not optional for island nations. It is existential. Why does this region matter so much? Because beneath these waters lie vital fishing grounds, energy resources, undersea communication cables, shipping lanes that carry trillions of dollars in trade. Control of these waters means leverage, not just over neighbors, but over global commerce. This is why the South China Sea is not just a regional issue. It is a global one. And this is why every patrol ship, every radar station, every alliance matters. Japan's relationship with the Philippines is not transactional. It is strategic and historical. Both are maritime nations. Both rely on open sea lanes. Both face pressure from the same source. Japan's shift towards supporting regional partners is not charity. It is self-defense, shared forward. From radar systems to patrol vessels to training programs, Japan's assistance strengthens not just the Philippines, but the entire maritime balance of the West Pacific. The question is not whether cooperation will continue. The question is how far it will go. Imagine a large Philippine Coast Guard flagship, capable of long deployments, equipped with helicopters, commanding respect through size and professionalism, not aggression. Such a vessel would not provoke conflict. It would stabilize it, because stability at sea does not come from weakness. It comes from credible presence. In modern maritime security, navies and coast guards must work together. The Navy deters war, the Coast Guard enforces peace. China blurs this line intentionally. The Philippines must strengthen both sides clearly. A capable Coast Guard reduces the risk of escalation. A credible Navy ensures deterrence remains intact. Together, they form a layered defense of sovereignty. Modern maritime dominance is not just about ships. It is about drones, satellites, automatic identification systems, artificial intelligence, maritime domain awareness platforms. A smaller fleet, when digitally integrated, can punch far above its weight. This is where partnerships and innovation become decisive. Every maritime incident now plays out online. Photos, videos, narratives. Who tells the story first often shapes perception. China understands this, so must the Philippines. Transparency is a weapon. Documentation is deterrence. Truth, when broadcast globally, limits coercion. The Philippines today is not the Philippines of 20 years ago. There is greater awareness, stronger alliances, more public engagement. Incidents that once went unnoticed now spark national conversations. This shift matters because sovereignty is defended not only by ships, but by citizens who understand what is at stake. Doing nothing is also a decision, and it has consequences. It invites pressure. It rewards persistence. It signals weakness. History does not remember nations that hesitated at the water's edge. It remembers those who chose to stand firm, even when the odds were difficult. The seas ahead will not be calm. The challenges will not disappear, and there will be moments of tension, but there is also opportunity. Opportunity to modernize, to partner, to assert presence, to protect what is ours, not through force, but through resolve. The retirement of Shikishima is a reminder that even the strongest guardians must eventually pass the torch. The rise of China's monster ships is a warning of what happens when power goes unchecked. For the Philippines, the choice is clear: to be present, to be prepared, to be united, because the sea does not forgive indecision. And the future of the West Pacific is being written, one patrol at a time. This is West Pacific Watch, watching the waters, tracking the shifts, telling the story that matters. Stay vigilant, stay informed,